Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, and finally refilming the video that I was working on when my laptop crashed. For those not aware, about a month ago, my computer completely crashed. I lost tons of video footage, this being one of them, and so many things to redo. So anyway, I had a lot of requests to remake this card after I showed just the finished card in a previous video. So I sat down and basically recreated the card with a little bit of a twist. So I'm using the Penny the Platypus stamp set, and I'm actually only using one stamp from the set, just this little GRAD cap stamp. And I have some black cardstock here that I used my anti-static powder tool on. And then I'm stamping this grad cap multiple times with Versamark ink, and then I'm coating it with some Nuvo silver embossing powder. And I end up doing a second piece before I melt anything because I wanted to make sure I had enough for the outside as well as a couple for the inside of the card. So once I have them all stamped and covered with the embossing powder, I'm going to melt this with my heat tool, which is always my favorite part, watching the embossing powder melt, especially silver on black, and well, any metallic on black, it just looks gorgeous. So I melt all of this with my heat tool. Once it's all melted, I can funnel all of that embossing powder back into the container before I end up knocking everything over, which I end up doing later, not with embossing powder, thankfully. Anyway, funnel it back in there, and then you just use my little Swiffer cloth to clean up the random bits of embossing powder, as well as to rub against the black cardstock to remove all that dusty anti-static powder that I'd used. And then once I'm done with that, I'm going to use the coordinating wafer die to die cut all of these. Now, to save myself some time, I'm going to use my little sidekick machine. I like this especially when I have to do multiple die cuts, or I'm die cutting several small images, things that I just have to do, multiple runs through a machine. I find the sidekick, that's what it's perfect for. If I had to run this through my bigger machine, it would take me 5 times as long because I would have to wait for the size of a full size cutting plates, etc. to run through the machine. Whereas with this, I can do this bit of die cutting faster than it would take to fussy cut with scissors. So I die cut all of these grad caps, just kept taping the die into place, sticking it on metal cutting plates here, and running it through my machine until all of them were die cut. And I'm going to set those aside and work on my background. Now, when Tim Holtz announced this set of colors, this isn't the newest set, but when he announced the set with this black soot ink, the first thing he said was how it looked like a chalkboard to him. And that has been in the back of my mind since I watched that video however many months ago. It's like, I want to sponge black soot distress oxide ink onto some cardstock because it looks like a blackboard. So, either make a teacher themed card or in this case, a graduation card, anything. So I'm using Bristol smooth cardstock there, and it just, all the distressing, pretty much any ink blends like butter onto this. This took no time at all. So I just blended the ink to completely cover my piece of Bristol smooth cardstock. And then I took the nozzle out of my spray bottle, and I'm just using that to flick against my finger. I prefer doing this over actually using the spray part of it because I find you get better droplets rather than, a spray pattern. It just kind of depends on what you're going for. But I wanted the more of the droplet version. So I did that a few times until I had a bunch of big and small droplets. Let that sit for 30 seconds or so, and then pick that up with a paper towel to get that fun splattery look. And then I use my heat tool on this just because it is Bristol smooth cardstock. The ink, while it blends fabulously, it does like to kind of sit on top almost, and it can take a while to dry. And you can't see on camera, but I have black all over my arms. I got ink all over me as usual. So I dried it first and then ran that through my bigger die cut machine, my Gemini, with the largest of the Honeybee A2 double stitch frames. And then I'm going to kind of lay out all these grad caps onto my background here because I want it to look like, they've all been tossed in the air. So once I'm kind of happy with how I have these laying on my card front, I am going to take a piece of press and seal. This isn't totally necessary, but it just, when you're doing things more finicky and you want to remember the layout, this just helps a lot. But even without this, I used to do, I would take a picture of things with my phone so I could remember where I placed them. With one like this, that's not really necessary. But using that press and seal just enables me to press that onto there like I showed, and then I can remove the background. And now I have all these grad caps in place. So all I need to do is add my foam tape to these. So I just add bits of foam tape to the back of all of these, and now I'm going to peel all of this off. and then to adhere them back onto my background. I found because I'm adhering black grad caps onto a black background and my grid mat is black, I couldn't see what I was doing. So I pulled out my Tonic craft mat again just to give me that difference so I could see where I was putting everything. And then that way I can just reline up that press and seal, press all of my grad caps into place, and then peel back the press and seal. And this press and seal, I just keep reusing the same piece over and over. Like, this roll has lasted me for years now because I don't need to grab a fresh piece very often. I just keep that, you know, wrinkly piece of press and seal because I just use it for card making. And yeah, I get quite a bit of use out of that one roll. So now I'm just flipping this piece over and using my scissors to trim off all of the bits that are hanging off the ends. And some of them, like some of the tassel areas, I'm just going to re-adhere to other areas to kind of fill them in. And rather than, you know, waste any other ones that I have stamped and embossed that I want to use on the inside. So then I'm just going along and trimming off all the remaining pieces that are hanging over the edge. And then for this card, with my previous one, I used just the stamp set, but for this one, I'd finally got the die set in time. So I have the new Congratulations die set from Honeybee, and I ran through some black glitter paper as well as some vellum through my little Xyron sticker maker here. So now both these pieces have adhesive completely on the back of them. So now I can run through the glitter paper with the Congratulations word die, and then the vellum piece I can run through with the outline die. And then once those are cut, I'm going to use the third die, which is like the, I guess you call the mega outline. It's the extra outline. You can use it or not. That's kind of the nice thing with Honeybee ones, is you have these extra options. So I did vellum for the immediate outline. And then I'm going to use black cardstock for the final outline. And it die cuts the outline as well as like this almost embosses a piercing look around the edge, which kind of just gives it, you know, a little something extra. So I'm running all these through my side kit because they fit, and again, saves me the time when I'm doing all these die cuts. So now I've got my base for my sentiment with this black cardstock with all those little dots around the edge. And then I can peel off the backing from this vellum and adhere that to the black cardstock. And then I can start removing the parts from the word die that have been die cut from the glitter cardstock that also now have adhesive on the back. And especially with one like this, it's such a fine detail, like small parts to it and many parts to it. It's so much easier having run it through. So I'm not sitting there fiddling with, you know, any sort of liquid adhesive. I just peel off the backing and stick it into place. It saved me a ton of time doing it this way. So I have my little die pick as well to help kind of pop it out and also to help kind of peel off the backing to expose that adhesive. And then I'm just going to stick all these little bits into place so that my word is all spelled out. And then I remembered, I almost started to adhere this to my card front, but I remembered there's something else I wanted to add to it before I got to that. So I put my foam tape in place because I was about to adhere it, but then I remembered I wanted to adhere the card front and everything to the card first. So I'm going to back my card front here with some black cardstock just to, you know, give it that extra layer. The great thing about a card like this is you could totally do it in the school colors, whoever you're giving this to, you know, whatever institution they're graduating from, you could do these in the colors of the school. So I think that would be kind of fun to coordinate that. Or you can just do the standard, you know, black and leave it as is. But I think it would be fun to kind of color code it or do it in the person's favorite colors. Whatever floats your boat. So I adhered that to the black cardstock, and then my card base is some gray cardstock, and I pulled out the hats off sentiment from the Congrats Grad stamp set, and I'm going to stamp that on the inside of my card with some VersaFine ONYX black ink. And this is where those extra couple of grad caps come into play. That I would adhere those onto the inside of the card to continue that whole, you know, tossing them into the air sort of a theme. So I'm going to adhere those to the inside of my card. And then I'm going to adhere my card front to the outside of the card. And then before I adhere my sentiment, I wanted to add some shimmer to all of these grad caps. So I have my Spectrum Noir shimmer pen. This is the black one. It comes in a set of 3 that you get like black, silver, and gold. And I chose the black one because I just like how it made the color of the grad caps a little more intense. And it's also not super overpowering. The clear would probably work just as well, but I have the black and I don't use it very often. So I thought, why not? So I just went along and painted that along the grad caps. And the nice thing about it is it looks shimmery in real life, but nothing too crazy, but when the light hits it, that's when you can really see the sparkle. So I turned on the flashlight on my phone here so you can just see just how sparkly this is, and it's just fun. So once I've got that all painted on, now I can remove the foam tape, and I decided to double up this layer of foam tape here so I can pop the sentiment up a little bit more and stick that into place. And then as a final bit of embellishment, I just have some Studio Caudia silver foil crystals here, and this is what I was talking about with dumping things. Put them in my magic tray, shook that around, and then proceeded to dump them all over my work surface. Doesn't matter what I do, things are gonna get knocked over. So yeah. So the magic tray was completely redundant at this point, but whatever. I just picked them up from my work surface and stuck them into place. So I'm adhering them into place with just little dabs of multi-medium matte adhesive. And I'm just picking these up with my jewel picker and pressing them into place and just kind of, you know, sprinkling them liberally throughout the background. And I did the same thing with the original card. The only difference was with the original card, I only used the stamp sets. I didn't have that congratulations word die, and I thought it would be fun to mix it up a bit. And on the inside of the original card, I did a longer sentiment from the same stamp set, and I just stamped the GRAD caps on the inside of that one. So that finished off the cards for today. As always, there will be a link below the video to the blog post with links to all the supplies used, so you can check that out below if you're interested. Thank you all so much for watching and subscribing and thumbs upping and commenting on my videos. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all very soon in the next one. Bye!